Sorry Ayane, I get that most people think that you are the best girl in Ninja Gaiden, but Rachel will always be my favorite. I'm still pissed that she wasn't in Ninja Gaiden 3, but here's hoping she will be in Ninja Gaiden 4. Speaking of Ninja Gaiden 4, I previously spoke about how its many changes feel opposite to what makes a Ninja Gaiden game, but it's not too late since there are many key components in Ninja Gaiden games that can still be in this one. So here are 8 or so things that Ninja Gaiden 4 needs to have to feel like an authentic Ninja Gaiden game that don't include reversing the changes that have already been revealed. Well, for the most part. I started this video off by discussing Rachel and Ayane, so naturally that's item number 1. The Sigma games will always have their critics given how people don't enjoy the changes. I'm certainly one of them, but playing as different female characters wasn't a problem. Sure, they only had one weapon, one Nimpo, and aren't as powerful as Ryu, but they differentiate themselves with their own playstyle. In Ninja Gaiden 4, they can always bring these characters back with new weapons, better design levels, and most importantly, lots and lots of costumes. In Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, they didn't include all the costumes from Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma for whatever reason. There's a great video that covers that topic, by the way. I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. Even if, God forbid, the characters are not playable, they should still be involved in the story, as that was the case in the past 3 vanilla versions of Ninja Gaiden. Either way you look at it, these characters have become almost as essential to this franchise as Ryu himself, and not including them would be a damn shame. While we're at it, why not bring other characters from Dead or Alive in here, like Hayate? We used his sword in Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, so let's now use the character. I can't believe this is even on here, but that's the timeline we are living in. So far, it's not clear what Ryu's involvement will be in this game. The trailers and gameplay footage don't paint a good picture, and that DLC skin for the Blade of the Archfiend isn't helping. Also, side note, but wasn't that sword destroyed in the last game? So how can Ryu even use it? I get you can bend the rules a little bit for skins, but this is a bit much. Anyways, there's a growing concern that Ryu isn't going to have a major role in this game. One issue brought up is that Yakumo, yes, I finally got the pronunciation right, has unique ways to traverse the area, and Ryu may not have those same abilities. If that's true, then that means you can't use him as often, and they might simply put all of his missions as a separate thing from the campaign, like what we saw in Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma. But there is some light at the end of the tunnel, because in recent gameplay footage of Ryu, it looks like he does have access to the same means to get around as Yakumo. Let's hope that's true. Going forward, I don't think Ryu is going to be the main character anymore for whatever reason. But for this game, please give him a larger role. We're talking at least 40% of the campaign, although 60% would be ideal. It just won't feel like a true Ninja Gaiden experience if you aren't playing as Ryu that much. It's a Ninja Gaiden game, so we better have lots of weapons and costumes. For Yakumo, we already know he's getting a lot of both. With Ryu, it's a mystery. For costumes, I would like everything from Sigma to Razor's Edge and the color variants of the DLC costumes from Ninja Gaiden 2. What they did in Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was garbage, and they better not repeat that here. In addition, please add unlockable costumes through completing the campaign on different difficulties or through completing other challenges. So far, everything seems to be exclusively DLC, but I think a good mix of both would suffice. They have made a significant push to advertise Yakumo's and Ryu's DLC costumes in recent videos. I get that they look awesome, just please don't make all of them DLC. When it comes to weapons, variety is the spice of life. This is a signature aspect that all Ninja Gaiden share, even if one had to be altered later on. We know that Yakumo will have plenty, even if some feel out of place for a Ninja Gaiden game, but with Ryu, who knows? As I said before, fans were pissed when Ryu only had one weapon in Ninja Gaiden 3, and making that same mistake again would be unacceptable. What confuses me is why they haven't confirmed multiple weapons for Ryu yet. Ninja Gaiden 2's advertisement quantified how many melee and range weapons would be in it, but here they give us a series of statements that are just vague nonsense. A summary of the game is important, but stating key features is just as important, so you know what you're getting when you purchase the game. In my opinion, if multiple weapons on launch was a done deal, then I can't think of a reason to not advertise that as soon as possible, especially given the pushback from Ninja Gaiden 3's initial launch. By the way, this includes other things that I've already mentioned in this video. They advertise things like that on the PlayStation and Xbox pages for their other games, so we have examples of them doing this in the past, which set the standard, so not seeing it here worries me. Now with the weapons themselves, they don't have to bring back all of them, but they should at least include the Dragon Sword, obviously, the Lunar Staff, the Tonfa, the Eclipse Scythe, the Falcon Talons, and the dual katanas. I wouldn't mind reworked versions of the weapons to better fit the setting of the game if possible. Ninja Gaiden 2 introduced many new weapons to the franchise, and Ninja Gaiden 4 needs to do the same. Yakumo's new weapons, even the bizarre ones, match the setting. Let's hope Ryu's new weapons will as well. Side note, would it be great if Ryu could use Yakumo's weapons? Oh, and please allow the players to upgrade whatever weapons they want, whenever they want, when the game allows you to do that, which was a feature in every single game except for Sigma 2. Now, one key thing to know that is both concerning and hopeful at the same time is that according to the deluxe version's description, there will be future gameplay content. It's hopeful because that could imply that we're going to get more Ryu if he's not in the base game that much. And of course, other playable characters, maybe new costumes, and maybe new weapons. The concern is, one, that some of these things might have to be relegated to DLC when they shouldn't, and two, we probably won't get any of this until 4 to 6 months later. I have noticed a trend where studios front load their games with additional content if you purchase the most premium version with the promise of free DLC content in the future, only for that content to take a long time to come out. More than likely, they'll probably release Ninja Gaiden 4 Sigma or Ninja Gaiden 4 Black in the future that will have everything in one nice package. The campaign isn't the only feature in Ninja Gaiden games. Again, something they had to learn the hard way last time. Ninja Gaiden games have other modes that give you more ways to kill stuff. Here is what I'd like to see in Ninja Gaiden 4 at some point. I know expecting the game to have any of this on launch isn't a reality, hence why I said at some point. Even Ninja Gaiden 2 didn't have any modes besides the campaign on its initial release. Anyways, here we go. First are chapter challenges, which allow players to replay completed chapters on various difficulties using any of the available playable characters. This is where having the other playable characters besides Ryu and Yakumo come into play. And while we are here, please bring back the new Game Plus mechanic from Ninja Gaiden 2 and Ninja Gaiden 3. We don't talk about Sigma 2. Next is the Ninja Race, a feature first included in the PS Vita game Ninja Gaiden 2 Plus, and later imported into Ninja Gaiden 2 Sigma as part of the Master Collection. That's not exactly what happened, but to keep it simple, I'm going with that explanation. Anyways, adding in the time limit restriction creates an interesting dynamic when replaying various missions, and considering that Ninja Gaiden 4 is going to be faster than previous entries, it only makes sense to include this mode. Next comes the Ninja Trials and Tag Missions. This mode takes the fun arena fights and gives us many missions in those areas at different levels of difficulty. Hopefully these missions will include enemies and bosses from previous games. Even though I dislike Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge, I will admit that the Ninja Trials can be a lot of fun. I doubt they'll want to maintain servers, but it would be great to bring back these trials as tag missions, or maybe some nice combination of the two. So far, Ninja Gaiden 4 is advertised as a single player only, when Sigma 2 was advertised as a 2-player game online. This means they're probably just going to release Ninja Trials as a single player mode only, especially if you go by Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. Regardless, please bring back the Ninja Trials. And if they do bring back the Ninja Trials, let's hope that they also bring back the Horde/Survival mode, where you fight off as many waves of enemies as possible. That actually existed in Ninja Gaiden 2. I think this is already something that they will add, but I don't think it was confirmed yet. Next, I'd like an improved version of Ninja Cinema from Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. Recording gameplay is fine, but what about a nice photo mode? From my observations alone of this fandom, people love to share their gameplay, and giving players more ways to do this is always a win. Besides including the classic modes, I would like to see a brand new sandbox mode. The idea is to include a fully fleshed out training mode where you choose the scenario. This would include choosing the location, the enemy types, the enemy difficulty, how many enemies, and so forth. I know this game will already include a simple training mode for the players to practice new moves and so forth, but this will be a great way to expand that mode. I also read that they are going to add dynamic weapon switching, which existed in Nier Automata, something that should be interesting in a Ninja Gaiden game.
That one didn't age quite so well.
Let's hope we get that along with everything else mentioned here, and maybe even get expanded versions of these classic game modes. So I made a big stink about not liking the checkpoint system or the ability to change difficulty on the fly, and many people defended this by saying that they aren't serious problems or that the game will have to appeal to new players to make money. For the last one, while I don't like it, it does have some merit. So here is the My Gaming Chops compromise. Add a new difficulty to the game, something like Hardcore mode from Fallout New Vegas. In this difficulty setting, there aren't any mission checkpoints aside from bosses, and you're locked in at the chosen difficulty. Or if that's too difficult to implement, then you're locked at Master Ninja or Ultimate Ninja or whatever the highest difficulty setting is called. This means they'd have to plan out the entire experience based on a locked difficulty, which would be a lot harder. And that's what made the past Ninja Gaiden games so special, because having a locked difficulty meant that the entire experience would be altered, not just buffing enemies, which is probably the direction they're going to go with in this game. By the way, I'm not saying that having more checkpoints and the ability to switch difficulty on the fly won't make the game difficult or even fun. Rather, it doesn't feel like Ninja Gaiden. So add this new difficulty setting and everyone will be happy, for the most part. Ninja Gaiden isn't known for having the best boss fights in gaming. There are countless examples of bosses that are either not fun or straight out broken to play against. Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge took this to the next level by giving us tons of annoying bosses, including maybe the worst final boss fight in this franchise history and gaming in general. One key change here was to add multiple phases to these bosses. To me, this felt like filler, compensating for the bosses not having much depth to them. And of course, it made it take longer to take out those bosses. They also added quick time events, which I pray do not appear in this game. A better solution is to keep it simple with these boss fights and focus more on the fun factor and less on the cinematic factor. The best boss battles in Ninja Gaiden are the ones that take full advantage of the arsenal of weapons and the moveset per weapon. It's always nice having multiple viable options to take out a boss, and frustrating when the opposite occurs. There's a reason why Genshin, the Region, the Doppelganger, and Doku are fun fights, while the rest of the boss fights vary from boring to cheap and are usually not fun to play against. Typically, players enjoy a battle that rewards their understanding of the mechanics and not if you can spam a certain move or cheese a boss again by spamming another move, and usually in those cases you have to do it because playing the boss conventionally is suicide, and that's bad game design. So let's go back to the bread and butter of boss fights and not overdo it this time. And please, for love of God, do not make another final boss like Goddess Kana from Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. If you play these games in order of release, then Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge shift in its mechanics are going to hit you like a ton of bricks with all of its significant changes. Now, to be fair, Ninja Gaiden 2 also made several key changes from Ninja Gaiden Black, but at least the core components remained. Thus, players going from Ninja Gaiden to Ninja Gaiden 2 will have an easier adjustment period compared to going from Ninja Gaiden 2 to Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge. And that's mainly due to how it altered the established mechanics of items, healing, and Nimpo. Instead of using items to heal or restore your Nimpo, or using certain type of essence, you instead accomplish this through your key meter or using steel on bone. In normal combat, it can be tolerable as much as I can't stand this mechanic, but during boss battles, it was unacceptable. You could technically upgrade your health during a boss fight using the upgrade menu, but that was limited to 5 times only, so it's something you have to save for emergencies. Since they're bringing back essence and you can purchase stuff at a store, it only makes sense to bring items like this back as well. This should also include items to upgrade your Nimpo and max health, and maybe more weapons for Ryu? We'll have to see. I might be overly worried here, but it seems like Ninja Gaiden 4 is copying things from Ninja Gaiden 3. Specifically, the bad things. I'll talk about that in a future video. Also, the golden scarab mechanic in Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge was dumb, and I think they're replacing this vital mechanic for those simple quick time event collectibles instead. Let's hope those things don't have a significant impact on the game, like unlockable weapons, Nimpo, or health upgrades. Finally, if you bring back the female characters, then could you please also bring back the ability to jiggle their breasts using the controller like in Sigma 2? Alright, calm down. That was just a joke. My actual final point is for the game to be a fun Ninja Gaiden experience. This includes the weapons having a wide array of moves, having fun levels with great arena battles. I wouldn't mind seeing a return of the Test of Valor challenges, and of course, having many modes is meaningless unless the enemies themselves are fun to fight. Ninja Gaiden historically has well-designed enemies both from an artistic and gameplay standpoint. Well, for the most part. But Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge was a step in the wrong direction, and even the enemies they brought back from past games felt wrong. People are going to spend countless hours playing this game, so make the enemy encounters, which is like 90% of the game, fun. So like fewer alchemists, terrorists, the ghost soldiers, those alchemy creations, dogs, worms, and rocket spam soldiers, and more lycanthropes, black ninjas, bass fiends, vangels, and just more fiends in general. I can't wait to see what new enemy designs they have for this one. Judging from gameplay footage alone, they seem to be going in the right direction. In the Ryu gameplay footage, he's facing familiar foes, and with Yakumo, the enemies look futuristic to match match the setting while staying true to past enemy designs. Side note, some people are concerned this game will have a lot of parry slop since Souls games made it popular, and I also hope it's not in there, especially when they said they were not trying to copy Souls games, but don't be surprised if that makes it into the game. Now back to something more important. In addition to everything so far mentioned, there is one more element that is present in all Ninja Gaiden games, and I've even seen this element in the released Ninja Gaiden 4 footage so far. This element is the glue that puts all these components together, and that's depth. Ninja Gaiden games are many things to different people. Cheap, unfair, a fun challenge, a good time, a rewarding experience, a living hell, and so forth. But they aren't considered mindless action games. There is a surprising amount of depth to the game, including understanding the weapons, the layout of the areas, and the mechanics behind each of the enemies. Once you gain an understanding, the gameplay becomes more engaging. This even includes Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge at times. All of a sudden, each combat section could be approached from a strategic point of view instead of just unga-bungoing your way through things. In fact, if you die often, using those techniques might be the reason why. Well, that and the enemies can sometimes be cheap as fuck. Instead, you should carefully plan out how you intend to fight these enemies by making key choices like the order to take out the enemies and how should you burn your item /nimpo or save it for another set of enemies, or when to use UTs, ETs, OTs, and Steel on Bone. Actually, scratch that last one because you should always use Steel on Bone if possible. Regardless, this surprising depth is what makes these games fun to replay over and over again. The variety of enemies, weapons, and Nimpo, combined with the player's management of these things, creates the satisfying game loop which we mostly love and enjoy. You can have Ryu with all the other female characters, all the weapons, all the costumes, all the modes, and so forth, but if this element is missing, then the game won't be fun and, in my opinion, a failure. Despite my frustrations expressed in the last video, even if Ninja Gaiden 4 doesn't include some of the key elements of past games, if it at least gets this part right, it'll be a fun experience. I will never forgive them for modernizing certain elements, but at least the game will be fun to play. Something that Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge and many times wasn't, despite having many of the requested features in this video. But now let's hear from you. What does Ninja Gaiden 4 need to have to feel like an authentic Ninja Gaiden experience? Let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you guys in the next video.